Years ago, my psychologist diagnosed me with a body inbuilt with worry and a serious case of overthinking. The formal term for that is anxiety and depression. Mental illness has run in my family for quite a few generations, and having a formal diagnosis actually felt like quite a relief. At the time, I was living in a share house with my two best friends, Phoebe and Eliza, and we were about to enter into our final year at university, a university that rhymes with Bopper, that is known for the intensity of its arts program. Part of that final year involved the making of a major performance project. I was working on a play about a woman in her 20s and her talking dog. Sounds delightful, but this play and all of my life's worries and never-ending to-do list hung over my head like a dark cloud. I started to get very overwhelmed with my day-to-day life and just felt like I couldn't cope with the stress. I was living away from home, my family lives in Queensland, and I was so stressed it was a time that I needed my mum the most. I went to my psychologist and told her about how I was feeling, and she said that maybe at this time talk therapy wasn't quite enough and that maybe I should consider medication. She sent me to my GP, who brought up the idea of antidepressants. This kind of scared me because I didn't know a lot about antidepressants and I wasn't sure about having all of these different new chemicals, or the chemicals that I was lacking, running through my body, but I really wanted to feel better because I was miserable, and so I said yes. So my GP prescribed me some good old sertraline. Some of you will probably be familiar. Fast forward 2 weeks, I've been taking sertraline for 2 weeks, and can you imagine I said a different amount of time? I've been taking sertraline for 2 weeks, but not feeling any better at all. In fact, I almost felt worse. One night in particular, I couldn't sleep. It's about 2 a.m. and I'm just feeling so low. I called my boyfriend and tried to talk it out, but nothing he said could help me feel better, and I just had this overwhelming feeling that I'd never had before. It's still really difficult for me to say the S word, but I was feeling suicidal. I'd had the thoughts before, but this time it was really serious. I had this fight or flight reaction. I felt, I just need to get out of this house. I need to get out of this house. I often borrowed my housemate's car, and so I went and grabbed her keys and made my way for the front door. Luckily, because my boyfriend is a good person, after I'd hung up on him, he'd called my housemates to tell them what was going on, and they met me at the front door and tried to stop me from leaving, tried to figure out what was going on with me, but because I was a drama student, I was like, I just got to get out of here. And I got in the car and I took off. To this day, I still don't remember a second of the drive, but it must have been about 20 minutes because suddenly I found myself at City Beach. I got out of the car and I went for a walk along, the rocky pier, rocky outcrop, and I looked down into the freezing ocean that was crashing up against the rocks, and I thought, that doesn't look like a very nice way to go. Fortunately, the salty sea air had calmed me down and I felt a hell of a lot better. I felt a lot better than my housemates back at my house who had called the police and the cops had arrived at my house as crisis response. Apparently, my housemates had told the police that I'd taken off in their car, and the first thing the cops said was, "Do you want to report your car as stolen?" Fortunately, my friends cared more about my well-being than where her Holden Astro was. And they said, no, we just want to find our friend. I'm told that the cops separated my housemates and kept one of them outside while the other one went through my house, and the cops were looking for me, seeing if I was hiding, or they'd tied me up or something and faked the whole emergency call or something. And one of the cops took my housemate into my room to look for clues, and on my bedside table there was this notebook lying open, and the cops picked it up and, expected to read, a suicide note or something that would offer a clue as to where I'd gone. But instead, the cop reads, "The dog vomits?" ? The dog reads the newspaper. For uni. No suicide note. I'm also told that my housemates had to give the police a description of what I looked like. And then as they sort of said, she's this tall, she's got brown hair, they also had to add, oh, by the way, 2 weeks ago in a manic state, she dyed the front 2 strands of her hair blonde. So she's got like this terrible home job of blonde hair down the front. So they had to say that, which didn't help my image at that point. The police did call my phone then, and obviously I was at the beach, and I told them where I was. I was feeling much better. I said, yeah, I'm at City Beach on a walk. And suddenly these 2 police officers, an ambulance, my boyfriend and his sister arrive at the beach. And they all ask me, how are you feeling? What's going on? What can we do to help? And I was like, I'm fine. And, I was lying. I'm fine. I just went for a drive. I needed to clear my head. I'm feeling much better. And, that last part was true. I was feeling much better. But the cops knew that this was a mental health case, and they said that I absolutely had to go to the hospital. And at this point, I had a second wave of, panic and fear because I was, going to the hospital, how much is that going to cost me? My parents, my family's interstate. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to freak my family out. I don't want to go to the hospital. I just want to go home, I'm feeling better. Not going to the hospital. And the cop said, well, you are going to the hospital, and I'll give you a choice. Either you can go to the hospital in the ambulance with the comfy seat and the nice tattooed paramedic, or you can go to the hospital in the back of the paddy wagon, which we don't clean very often. He got me there, so I chose the ambulance. Had a good chat about tattoos with the paramedic, so, silver lining. When I got to the hospital in the emergency room, I had a nice long chat with a very kind doctor, and then the next day I had a chat with my psychologist and my GP. And we sort of all figured out that what had happened is that I'd had a pretty severe reaction to the meds that I was on, and we immediately changed to a different type of antidepressant, one that helped me sleep, helped me cope with stress, and helped to stabilize my emotions, and an antidepressant that I'm actually still on to this day. What I've learned is that meds don't actually have to be that scary, and they can actually help stabilize you. And a lot of people are on meds than you might think, including my dog is on them now. And if you were born into a body that's been inbuilt with worry, and if you've got a serious case of overthinking, maybe meds might be helpful for you too. Thank you.